Time for some TikTok tea. Y'all know how I love the TikTok tea. Yes, I'm sounding a little rough. I got the flu for Christmas. Yay me. But I had to make this video because this TikTok tea has all the things I'm familiar with. First of all, Keithlee, who is an amazing food reviewer on TikTok. I adore him. Love you, Keith. Probably one of the most humble, honest people on TikTok, I would say. He's got 5.4 million followers. He's amazing. He's so good to small businesses. We love you, Keith. As a small business owner, I love you. And most of you know that I own a food company making gourmet popcorn and cotton candy. So this involves food cottage laws, food handling laws, all of it. And I'm pretty well versed on that. And it happens to be one of my pet peeves, food cottage laws, because most people are violating them. So let's get into it. So this involves Keith, who did an amazing review on Pickle Me Everything. She sent him a jar of mixed vegetables that she pickled. He gave her a great review. She got a ton of orders. Well, right before that, Mama Tot had also given her a great review. So she got a ton of orders from that. But lo and behold, we find out she isn't following any food handler laws, cottage food laws, or any laws. So it gets hairy, let me tell you. Once it's found out that she's not canning any of this, she's just hand tightening the jars, which is a huge no-no. You cannot do that. So somebody comes out, and I should have put her in here. I'm sorry, I apologize. And she's a food chemist, I think, and says, whoa, wait a minute, you can't do that. And people find out because people start getting their orders, and the jars are all leaking. And she says to him in the comments, don't worry, they're just hand-tightened jars, so if it leaks, it's no big deal. It's a very big deal. Very big deal. So that's what started all of it. So then people are looking into California food cottage laws, which she says she falls under, which she certainly does not. And here's what I'm going to tell you as consumers. Most people do not. Like in my local community, I get so irritated because people are always selling things on Facebook and they say, well, I fall under the food cottage law. No, you don't. Most of you don't. You don't even read it to see what it says, because they do vary from state to state. But like I compared Ohio to California, they're very similar. The biggest thing with food cottage law is you cannot sell anything that has to be refrigerated or kept cold. So think about it. That gets rid of all cream pies, meringue pies, cookies with cream in them. Anything that has to be kept cold cannot be sold as a food cottage under the food cottage law. So that wipes out a whole bunch of stuff, right? All the creams. And you'll see them for sale on Facebook all the time. It also excludes anything with meat, right? And yes, I have seen fried chicken for sale on Facebook. Consumers need to be your best advocate for yourself. Always ask. I was talking about this on TikTok, and they were like, how do you know? Well, on my Etsy page, I have it right on my shop announcement that I am licensed by the State of Ohio Health Department. I also put it in some of my listings. I put it on my Amazon listings, because here's what I'm going to tell you. Those of us that have gone through the trouble to be licensed are very proud of it, because it's a lot of work and it's a lot of money. So we want everybody to know that we are licensed. It's the people who are not licensed that don't say anything. So if you see an Etsy shop selling food and it says nothing about being licensed, they're probably not. They don't want you to know, and they don't want you to ask. So always ask. When in doubt, ask. Or, the ones, like I said, like me, we will always make you aware that we are licensed. So then this information gets back to Keith, and he's livid. So he makes a new video, tells people he apologizes for doing the review, tells them go cancel your order, get your money back, cancel your order. Do not eat this stuff, it's not safe. I've never seen him so upset. He was so mad in this video. And he tells her, how dare you send food to my house that could make me or my family sick? And that's it right there. Botulism is nothing to play around with, because it's rare, but it's deadly. So it's not something you want to take a risk on, for sure. I feel so bad for Keith. He was just trying to do a small business a favor and get him a bunch of orders, and to find out none of it was done correctly or safely, that's quite a blow. So, when this woman that owns Pickle Me Everything found out what was going on, she should have apologized, taken down all of her listings, and said, I'm going to do this right, I apologize. Instead, she doubled down and, in my opinion, kept lying and saying that she was going to prove that she had her food cottage law license, and she's going to make a video showing all these licenses, which was just a lie. So that never happened. Then, she still is not apologetic, in my opinion, at all. This is a newer video she put up showing the commercial kitchen she just rented. There's a lot of places where you can just rent a commercial kitchen. But I put on there, did you get your food handler license? Because, see, it's not so easy as just going and renting a commercial kitchen. You still have to get your license. And if you're the only one there, in Ohio, there's a couple different levels. You got to start as a level 1. Then you have to go take the level 2 class. Then there's a manager's class. Now, I'm not sure how they do it in California, but I'm sure it's similar. Just because you have a commercial kitchen is not the end of the road. The other thing is she insured? She needs to get a food policy. I have $2 million, and I'm just selling popcorn and cotton candy, which probably never killed anybody, right? The worst thing with popcorn is if it's stale, but it's certainly not going to hurt anyone. And I still have a $2 million umbrella policy, because that's, as a business owner, that's what you do. So I think she's still got a long road ahead of her. I think she needs to humble herself and stop playing with people. It looks like people are having trouble on Etsy getting their refunds. I imagine she's going to have to shut that Etsy shop down. Another thing I wanted to mention too, which I noticed when Keith first did the review, I was like, there's no labeling on her jars. There's no ingredient labels. Again, even if you're selling under food cottage law, there's a very specific way you have to make your ingredient label. They even tell you what font it has to be in, how big it has to be. It's very specific. So no matter what you buy online, what kind of food, it has to have an ingredient label. That ingredient label has to have the business name, where they're located. They call this a statement of responsibility. That way, if somebody got sick from this jar, you know who to go to, right? Then it's got to have the list of ingredients, and it has to have the weight. So it blew my mind that there's no ingredient labels on any of her jars that I could see, and nobody ever questioned that. Ohio, California, Michigan, I don't care where you go, you have to have a food ingredient label. You have to. And you have to have an allergy warning. So, yeah, it's a hot mess. I think she thinks she's just going to reopen with this commercial kitchen. And, canned food is a whole different thing. I know people in California were saying she has to get a canning license. I don't know, because, now I will say this. I used to sell homemade jam from home under the food cottage law in Ohio, and you can do that because jam is so low risk. Again, it's like popcorn. Nobody's going to die eating jam. If it goes bad, it's going to taste bad or it might mold, but it's not going to get botulism. So that's why it's one of the few, and I noticed on California you can do jam there too. Here's the funny thing too you got to watch for. I noticed in California, under the food cottage law, you can sell wherever you want, online, anywhere. In Ohio, You cannot sell online under the food cottage law. You can only sell in the state of Ohio. Now you can sell in grocery stores, food, flea markets, whatever, but you cannot go outside of the state of Ohio. So the Ohio cottage law is really limiting. But I get it. You don't want a nationwide something going on. If you're going to sell nationwide, you probably need to just get your regular food handling license and go from there. So that's probably the thought behind Ohio's law, and I agree with it. And the reason people, when I say stuff on Facebook, people are like, why do you care? Here's why I care. I spend a ton of money in my business. My license per year is like $400, $500 a year. Just to have my license for my store. It's the amount of time I put in, the amount of money, the classes I have to attend. So when I see people selling stuff out of their house that I know does not fall under the food cottage law, yeah, I get mad. I do. It pisses me off because I put so much effort into what I do. So, yeah, sue me. I don't care. Anyway, it will be interesting to see where this ends up. I kind of feel like she's going to just disappear. That's what I feel like. But we'll see. I could be wrong. I feel like once she finds out all the laws about canning and selling canned items. Oh, one more thing. I know there's always one more. I noticed on her Etsy shop, she was selling pickled pig's feet. Now that scares the crap out of me. And she was selling them in what she called vacuum sealed bags. She needs to get that off her Etsy shop because now she's going into a whole nother law about what is a vacuum sealed bag. I know in Ohio there's huge laws about vacuum sealing. So this lady, she's going to get herself in so much trouble. You cannot just throw terms out like that. I didn't know vacuum sealing was such a big deal till I looked into doing it for my stuff. So yeah, it's a whole nother laws and machines, and I was like, nah, we'll just keep handbagging it. So anyway, let me know what you think down in the comments. I hope you all had a great Christmas. I'm wishing you all a wonderful New Year, and I'm hoping I'll get to go live this week. I just got to get feeling a little bit better. Hold your family close.